Welcome back to the DogSportPlanet podcast, where we celebrate the athletes, trainers, handlers, and legends shaping the world of competitive dog sports. I'm your host, Philippe, and today's guest is a name that's making serious waves in Mondioring, especially if you're tuned into the elite level of the sport. Joining me today is Florin Angel, better known in the ring as Nake, winner of the FCI Decoy Super Selection and the official decoy for Category 3 at the upcoming Mondioring World Championships in Romania. This is a man who's earned his spot on the world stage through relentless dedication, athleticism, and a deep understanding of what it takes to test the very best working dogs out there. In this episode, we'll talk about what it means to go through the decoy super selection process, the mindset and physicality behind top-tier decoy work, and what it takes to stand in the center of the ring when the stakes are the highest. If you've ever wondered what separates a good decoy from a world-class one, you're about to find out. Strap in. This is DogSportPlanet, and we're stepping into the ring with Florin, Nake, Anghel. Before we get deep into the world of decoying and Mondioring championships and whatnot, I want to start with your story, because it's one that really stands out. Let's start at the beginning. How did your journey in dog sports begin, and when did you first realize that Mondioring was your path?
Oh man! First of all, thank you very much for having me on the podcast. It's a pleasure, and thank you for the introduction. That was something else. Um, yeah, I'm really happy to be here. I like the T-shirt as well. It really suits you as well. Right. So the journey. You specifically mean my Mondioring journey or my journey with dog training in general?
Your general journey.
My general journey. So, well, a while back. Well, first things first, I've always had dogs since I was a kid. I grew up in a ex-communist country in Romania where things were a bit different as I was very young. My first memory of a dog was a dog in my grandparents' garden tied to a chain next to a wooden house that was being let loose at night, so people don't come and steal the stuff from the garden and from the sheds. That was the mentality then, and then that's how my interaction with animals, and that's how my memory of dogs actually starts. And my first training memory is my grandfather telling a German Shepherd, her name was Tina, to jump on the box. That was my first thing about a dog doing something because a person is telling it to do something. And as I was growing up, I started to have more and more dogs with my grandparents, and then I remember I moved houses with my parents, and my first dog was a Doberman, which eventually had some puppies, and I kept one of the puppies, and then I moved on to a Cocker Spaniel, and then to a Rottweiler, and then when the Rottweiler came, that's when my life changed, if I can put it that way. It's pretty much she is the reason why I'm here today, where I am. And at 36 years old, I'm living in England. I've been living in England for the last 11 years, and the dog training journey pretty much put me in this spot right now, and it's all because of that Rottweiler that I had. The reason why I say that is because when I got her, she, as a young pup, she was everything I wanted in a dog. Apart from one specific thing, she was a natural resource guarder, and I had absolutely no clue what that means. The mentality in an ex-communist country is the dog should always listen to you. You're the one that walks it. You're the one that feeds it. I had absolutely no idea what dog training meant back then into that depth. And it was the problem that she had. The resource guarding was cute when she was 3 months old. It was not cute anymore when she was 9 months old. She was getting bigger and bigger, and dealing with it was harder and harder. So I decided to contact a trainer, which came around the house and helped me address the problem. And after a couple of sessions, he kind of gave me some homework to do. And I did my homework religiously. And I was just the feeling of achieving something with a dog, that communication with a different species where you can understand and reach a certain common ground just brings for me at least, it brought a different level of satisfaction. And then I just decided this is something that I'm actually very interested in. Um, at the same time, I was still going to school, still going to college. If I tell you what, I have a degree and you laugh. I have a
Go
bachelor.
ahead.
I have a bachelor degree in politics.
Really?
Yeah, I finished my high school and I went to university to study politics. Mostly because of my dad, because he was in the army. So that was something that he was guiding me to something to follow. And I did finish the school, but then in the meantime, dog training started, and just that feeling of being able to build something by yourself with your own strengths. Hitting your head when things are not going great, and then being able to solve them. Not necessarily dog cases, but in general, it's starting from nothing and building your own name and brand and business. It's a journey, and it's not smooth all the time. So it kind of teach me that if I learn how to do something by myself and learn how to navigate those moments, I have a saying: if you've learned to do that, you will never starve. So that's something that kind of guided me throughout the time. Um, and luckily for me, I'm the type of person who likes to, when I say I want to achieve something, I like to do it regardless of how hard or difficult it may be. So I was dreaming of having my own business, of having clients, of having the ability to manage my time. And that's something that I've done for years back home in Romania. Alongside the journey, Mondioring started as well, with me being a decoy and learning that aspect as well. Um, and then the opportunity to move to England came, and I took it, which came by mistake, to be fair. It was not intended. I was actually planning on moving to Belgium.
Really?
Yeah, I had family in Belgium, and I kept visiting Belgium a few times. And obviously, Belgium is the motherland of a lot of dog sports and decoying and the dogs that we love to work with. So I thought I'm just gonna try to move there. Me and my wife, which is my girlfriend at the time, we started learning French. We had a teacher who was coming home and teach us French, and try to get to the point where we can have a decent conversation in French. And then by mistake, England came around, which was a lot easier with language, and I just wanted to test it out, see how it goes, and here I am 11 years later.
So, what did trigger the move to Mondioring specifically? When did it start for you? The exact moment that you said, like, this is what I want to do.
So I mean, I told you this before. I've played football when I was younger, so I've always been involved in sports. In sports, not to the amateur level. I managed to reach to play in a high league in back home in Romania, purely because that's just how Eastern European people were at the time. Boys were going into football, and I've always liked that side of it, of having something to do physically. And obviously, for me, football brought a lot of discipline. Waking up in the morning, going to training, being careful of my recovery, uh, doing school at the same time, not having a lot of time as my friends were going out and partying and doing all sorts of stuff. I had to be at home and rest because I had a game the next day, so on and forth. So it disciplined me into a way which I enjoyed. And football eventually didn't work out for me. I was at a point where I said school or football, and I just made the decision to continue with school and university, and at the same time starting the dog training journey. And Mondioring came a few years into my dog training journey when one of my friends, which you know as well, Alex Davidescu, um, he was the first one who gave me a leg sleeve and gave me my first bite. And it was absolutely horrendous. I was absolutely shit at it. Sorry, can I swear on this?
Of course.
I was absolutely shit at it. The dog just came and bit me and then just moved me left, right, and center, did whatever she wanted with me. But for some reason, it felt good. It felt intense. It felt that I had a challenge to deal with. So I took it as is it more to this than just a leg sleeve? And then I started to look into it. And around that time, this was around 2011, and a few years before, no one kind of knew about Mondioring in Romania around that time. Only a few people. IGP, IPO, how it was called at that time, was a lot more popular, and a lot more people were doing that sport. But there was one specific person, which I think it was the first person who went in Europe to compete with their dog in Mondioring. And he is actually the first person who put me in the bite suit and teach me a lot of stuff which I still use today. Um, so you'll find it in the archives. I can pull it up. His name is George Laurențiu Bratu. He's been in the FMBB. It was category 1, but it was a very novel thing for Romania at that time. With a very, very good and strong dog. He's a bit of a legend back home in Romania. And he managed to get the 8th place. 8th place for a novel country at FMBB. It's not a bad
Yeah.
achievement. And then back home after my first bite, we started to form a little group where Alex was part of the group, and George Laurențiu Bratu was part of the group. I joined the group, and then a couple of more other people, and it was a bit new at the beginning, and we were all trying to find our steps. We knew how to train dogs, but then obviously there was a lack of understanding of certain techniques and ideologies and methodologies when it came to Mondioring. But being in the suit at a very young age, physically being fit to resist a lot of hours on it, for me, it was just extremely interesting to just being hit by dogs and trying to survive at the beginning. And that's how my journey started. And then it became serious when I got a phone call from Brato, and he said to me, "You need to go get your license. You're skilled enough, you're talented, you now understand how Mondioring works and how to carry out the attacks, so on and forth. You need to go and get your license." And there was this thing in Romania where every country has the ability to make their own ways of licensing decoys. And at that time was the Mondioring decoy license was divided in two. You were first assistant decoy, and then you were a full decoy, which meant more tests, more fees to pay, more, and etc. Right? So I went and I got my license, my first assistant decoy license. Now I remember there was this dog from Adi Nicarad,
Yeah.
which was a big dog, was big, 40 something kilos. And at the flea attack, he always bit you on your either behind of your arm or on your back, and you would always fall. People would fall. Out of 10 decoys, 9 would fall, definitely. And when I've done my first attack with him, everyone said, just wait and see how he's going to fall now. And I didn't. So just, I remember that moment of hearing people, you're gonna fall, you're gonna fall, you're gonna fall, and not falling. That was made me proud for some reason. I don't know why, but it did. This is when I was testing for the assistant decoy license. So managed to pass that, and within the same year, I got my full decoy license. Um, this was happening in the spring and then in the summer, and in the autumn time, just before at the end of October. At that time in 2012, yeah, 2012, you had the ability to go and license as a decoy abroad. The rules were allowing people to do that at that time. So I decided to go to Belgium, and we talked about it. I've done it in Veteran, which was a good place to be in, because they in the club they had the world champion at that time, which was owned by the judge who was now at category 3 last week by Mark Willems. uh, Goofy Van Joy, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
Goofy was a special dog. He's actually one of the first one who was escorting by hugging your leg, if I remember correctly. At least from my experience then. And I remember I used to speak with Mark, and he said if Goofy wanted to go that way, you're gonna go that way. So it was very good for me as a nobody. I just had a license in Romania at absolutely nothing, to go and just face the toughest dogs with the toughest handlers. And you had you had Mark Willems, you had Philippe Van den Abel, who owned the club at that time. um, Freddy Senave, I think, was there as well. Valer was there as well. So all these monsters in the world of Mondioring, and me being there and doing very good. I remember I had the license at the same time with Tommy Verschuren from Belgium, which
Yes.
everyone in the world of Mondioring knows. We had the license in the same day, and it was interesting to have that experience, because it was eye opening for me to where and how dogs, handlers, and decoys need to be in order to be the best. I mean, I was training with the dog which was a world champion, which had a handler which became a world champion, which had Valer, which had it was just a perfect environment for me to like open up my taste for Mondioring a bit more. And I came back home to Romania, and a year and a half later, I moved to England. It just happened, and that
Yep.
that turned the Mondioring story into a different path for me. Because when I moved to England, it was when you move into a new country, and I think you actually probably have this experience, because I know you've lived in a different country as well. When you move into a new country, in order to get um, stable, you have to understand how the culture is, how the legal system is, what exactly do you need to establish yourself as a citizen of that country. So, me moving to England, that took me about a year and a half. So it was a long time where I had to basically focus on that before I actually started to do focus on Mondioring again. And once I established myself here in England and everything was settled, I've tried my best to take my formal licenses and try to see if there's a way where I can validate them and then just convert them here, if possible. But the rules of the FCI and Mondioring have, since I got my licenses, have changed, and basically I had to start from scratch. So that was a bit of a difficult moment because England didn't have a club at that moment. They had a few people who were training, but there was no level 3 dogs in England. So eventually, after I moved to England in 2015, and in 2019 I managed to get my license back. So it was 4 years of trying to do something which, unfortunately, from a legal point of view, was impossible. But in 2019, I managed to get my license back. Now, which I was very very happy about. And then COVID hit, so that was the timing was absolutely crap because no one did anything for about a year. Right, 2020 was a dead year for absolutely
Yeah.
everyone. And how it works in England is that like I mentioned earlier, every country has the ability um, to make their own version of how decoys are licensed. Like I know, for example, Spain and France have level 1 decoy, level 2 Mondioring decoy, level 3 Mondioring decoy, national decoy, so on and forth. In England, you would get your brevet, and then you have to do a set number of competitions to get your full license. And once you do that, then you're able to participate in the super selection. So 2021 was a year full of competitions for me because I needed to get my full license in order to compete in the super selection. Which luckily I was able to do. So got my third license for Mondioring in England in 2019. 2020 was a dead year, and then 2021 got my full license for the UK and managed to participate in my first super selection, where I managed to get third place, which again was for me was a bit mm, brought a different level of satisfaction because as a new entry in the super selection to get the third place, it's hard to achieve when
Yes,
you
it
when you
is.
do that. But I know how I see the sport and I know how I see decoying, and it hasn't let me down then in 2021, and it hasn't let me down last week either. So because my mindset and mentality for the sport and decoying hasn't changed since then and now, and it seems like it's working. Two super selections and then two podiums. That's a good rate.
That is incredible.
Yeah, it's a good. I know it's not a big number too. Some people have four, five, six, but it's just I mean I made a decision last year not to go to Greece purely because it's the next World Championship is special for me because it's back home in Romania, and
Yes.
I knew if I go to Greece, if I do well, I'm gonna do the World Championship in Italy, probably without the chance to do the Super Selection. So, and even if I do the World Championship, doing the World Championship and the Super Selection can be a bit complicated, energy-wise and mentally-wise. Um, so I decided not to go to Greece purely because I wanted to do it this year in order to get a spot for Romania, which it managed to come through. So yeah, very happy about it.
I can imagine. Um, we have seen you in previous world championships, obviously, and
Mhm.
we've always known that you're a guy that has very nice movement. But before we go to deeper down the rabbit hole of decoying, I would like to know some more. There's
Yeah,
one question that I get from many people. They ask me, where did the nickname Nake come from? And does
right.
it reflect anything about your personality or your style in the ring? Does it have anything to do with your sports?
No, so when I was younger, you get uh, when people call you like sweet names, um, and my name is Florin. So when
Yes.
I was younger, my dad and my mom and my grandparents, even my friends outside, used to call me Florinake. It's like we talked about this. Like I would call you Filippo or Filipino or something like that, right?
Yeah.
So Florinake just came, and then Nake. Someone just said once Nake, and I said, "Oh, that sounds interesting." and they kept, this was kids outside, they kept saying Nake outside, uh, 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, and I think it got established when I made my email address that way. My email address is nake_florin@yahoo.com, and I had this for like 20 something years. Um, so that's actually what it comes from. I remember it came from playing football outside. That was the first time I actually heard it. So I don't
Okay.
know. I don't know if it's um, particular to what I do as a decoy. Maybe now that I think of it, there may be some specific moves that I do that could probably start to get recognized and associated with the name.
The Naki moves.
The Nike moves, yeah, because I do them pretty much all the time. And when I say that, I do it without thinking to do it, if that makes sense. It just comes very natural for me to do it. Uh, Now, as you're getting older and you're getting more experienced, I do train them in a specific way, either at the gym or without the dog. But uh, even if I wouldn't, I would probably just do them naturally, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I'm sure we're going to be establishing the
Which are those
specific
moves?
Naki, yes, exactly, the Naki moves in the near future. Now, let's talk about the craft because
Right.
decoying it isn't just a role. For me, it's an art form and an athletic pursuit. In Mondioring, the decoy isn't just part of the sport. You are the central part, the central element together with the dog. You're testing the dog's training nerves and drive all at once. What first drew you to the role of decoy rather than handler or trainer?
It's the you're right. It's for me. It was the first. It was the physical aspect. I like to be physically active, and then it was the challenge with uh, with the dog in itself, being able to be faster, sharper, smarter than the dog. For me, at the time when I started, it was incredible as an experience. Never thought I would be able to push a dog with a stick. I always saw dogs smashing through sticks and breaking barrages and then with accessories going through them, and that's incredible. But then being able to succeed to not allow the dog to bite me in one of their first attempts, for me was incredible experience. And I thought, wow, if I can do this, what else is there to be able to learn and explore? And then as you grow into the sport and you do your first competition, you start to understand the perspective of following the rules, which is extremely, extremely important for me. Whenever I go, I'm just gonna make a small break here. Whenever I go and I do seminars either for dogs and decoys, that's one of the first thing I say. It's like learn the rules. As a handler, as a decoy, learn them, because if you learn them, you'll know what to train, how to train it, in order to achieve the best results. That's for me. It's without doubt. It's one of the most important things. Um, so as you get into competing in the sport, and you, as a decoy, start to understand that you need to show to the judge and to the handler and obviously to the audience that this dog is trained to this specific level, and either he needs more, or there's a certain genetic baggage that the dog has, which is either complementing the training, or in some situations it doesn't specifically work with that training technique. Those are the moments where I feel like I'm part of, contributing to, with my role as a decoy, to being able to establish the best training system and the best dog with the best genetics, because that's the ultimate goal of the sport, right? It's to be able to establish the best dog, from a genetic legacy point of view, and the best training system or systems or handlers to the judges, to the audiences, because eventually those dogs which are the best, genetically wise and training wise, they will produce certain offsprings that in 2 or 3 years time may save someone's life in a dangerous situation as they're being used in the police or in the army or in, right? And somehow I don't know if I take it as a specific responsibility, but I feel like I have a contribution to that, and I feel like many decoys will do the same.
Yes, that's commendable. I feel the same way. I'm obviously I've never won a super selection, but as
Mm.
a training decoy, it's not only for sports, but also you try to do your part in contributing in the betterment of working dogs in general, and
Mhm.
that is not only for sports. That's also military dogs, police dogs, even guide dogs, for that matter. Now,
Yeah.
back to Nake. What does a typical week of training look like for you physically? How do you prepare your body to endure the demands of high level decoy work?
So I'll take the example of super selection now, and this is not necessarily just super selection, but my training regime changed for the super selection. But as a overall, I would go to the gym at least 3 times a week. Um, I would do my normal running, which is at least 5K, and then I would have my physical activity in the suit when I train at my club. Um, I've learned through time that you have to be strategic even with the physical side. So for the super selection, I started training. How do I say it? Addressing the super selection specifically, I started training somewhere around May. Obviously, you got May up until October. There's a lot of time. So I had to plan the way I was gonna get my body to be in its peak in October. So May, June, July, and the beginning of August was um, a lot of endurance, long endurance for me, long runs, um, and generally losing a bit of weight, which dieting and fasting actually helped and complemented that, and at the same time consolidating uh, my body weight and my muscles in that period of time. That was kind of like how I thought about um, getting ready for the super selection, and then August, mid August and September, everything changed in terms of training regime because then I focused a lot more on explosiveness, strength, power, and speed. And in between these sessions, I would add endurance sessions as well, just to maintain that level of being able to resist for my body to resist for longer periods of time. You know very well that Mondioring is a sport which solicitates your body to be at a very high level for about let's say 25-30 seconds. Let's take the stick attack for example. You start the exercise, you need to do that moment of provocation or starting the exercise. You run over the obstacle, the dog comes and he bites, and you work for 10 seconds, and then the dog goes back. So you got 25-30 seconds where your body needs to be up here, and then the exercise is finished, and then you move on to the next one. So in my mind, the body needs to learn how to go up here, learn to recover quickly, because then it's going to do the same thing again for a couple of more times. So I wanted to train that specifically because I can go for a run now and I can run 20 kilometers, which is great. Achieving what?
True.
I don't think that's going to help me specifically in Mondioring. It
No.
helps me as a human being to build a bit of resistance, but the type of resistance that I need for the sport, it's slightly different.
Yes.
That's how my um, my training program looked for the last 6 7 weeks. And obviously, up until that point from May, being able to have a good stamina, a level of stamina, and a good body condition, kind of complemented the intense moments that I needed to train to be able to resist that. I was looking back um, at the videos from the Super Selection, and the the level of energy displayed in all the exercises, for me at least, it was the same. And that's one of the things that I wanted to show, that even though it's intense and it was hot and it was, even the psychological pressure was big as well. um, I wanted to be consistent. If I start to be in this rhythm, I want to keep that way. But at the same time, the rhythm that I showed, I wanted to be a rhythm that is possible to allow me to be the same for 3 days in a row, right? Qualifying for the category 3 next year, it means that I have to behave the same for every dog as I behave as at the white dog. And you get tired, you get fatigued. It's normal, especially after 3 days. But with a bit of strategy, I think you can display the same level of work in all 3 days if you get yourself in the right spot.
That's a perfect segue to my next question, actually, is that mental preparation seems just as important as physical, obviously. How do you stay sharp, especially under pressure, like during selections or world stage competitions?
Um, Mental exercise, it's important, especially if you, for me, at least for me as a person, as an individual, it works. What works for me, it's envisioning success in all sorts of circumstances. And I think I said this into a different podcast. I remember before the World Championship in Spain in 2022, I remember imagining how I'm going to spectacularly steal some meters from Salto, from Joel's dog, which happened. It didn't happen as I imagined, but it did happen. Similar to what happened last week with the Super Selection. When I initially saw the list of decoys being there, and I saw these 19 people, which is a high number of people to compete with and against, and half of them were decoys at the world. In the last 3 years, they've all participated in world championships, so the stakes were high. But instead of taking it as oh my god, I'm gonna compete against the best, I took it as it's best to compete against the best, because now it's the time when I can actually show that I am worthy of this sport, and um, I'm able to demonstrate that I haven't done two world championships for no reason. I haven't been on the super selection for on the third place last one, and all my work that I've been done for the last few months, plus the hundreds of hours in the suit, now they need to be demonstrated somehow. And I guess in those moments, I just trust myself. And I've made mistakes. Don't get me wrong; it wasn't perfect. But I think the mistakes that I've made, it's something that um, it goes natural with decoying, if that makes any sense. Like we talked about it. It's first day, I in the object guard, the dog Fritz came out and bit me, and I stayed for 2 seconds, but it was like the border of 2 seconds. Was it a second and 99, or was it 2 seconds and 04? It was there. So a mistake like that can cost you, but it could have been that one judge could have seen 2 seconds, one could have seen a second and a bit. So that was a mistake which I realized and I got some feedback on, which I didn't do the next day, for example. So it's not like your work is perfect. I haven't seen 100% score in super selection so far, Um, but I think mentally, it just comes down to, for me, it works with envisioning success and taking your previous experience and taking the good things out of it and try to put them into the present moment.
Yeah. In your opinion, what makes a decoy great? Not just good? Is it movement, control, reading dogs? Is it something else?
I think the answer to that for me is fair play.
Okay.
Fair play, because fair play means every decoy has its own natural skills, right? You're way taller than me, and your reach is totally different than mine. So I know my skills, and I can never do what you do because we're built totally different, right? The rules are the same. The understanding of application of the rules, I think it needs to complement your ability as a decoy. And the reason why I say fair play is because um, if I pay attention to the dog and I can speculate the slightest mistake, that's me as a showing that I've got the skill to do so. At the same time, if the dog is good enough, I can respect the dog and the handler for everyone to see that the dog was good enough and I couldn't actually take the points in said circumstance. That's for me. It's extremely important to be fair play with yourself, with the dog, with the handler, with the sport in itself. And then to go a bit more in depth about technicality, I think the athleticism part is extremely important. And if you look through the huge list of decoys, not necessarily the last one, but throughout the years, if you go back the last 5, 10, 15, 20 years, if you want, you will see two specific patterns. Either the decoy, the great decoy that has done excellent work in so many competitions, world championships, national championships, whatever. It's either has a legacy in dog sport, the father, the grandfather has been in dog sport, or has a sporting background, or sometimes both. And I can give you an example. For example, from France, there's a decoy which I've learned a lot from. Cedric Gottfried
Yes.
has a legacy in dog sports since he was young, and he used to play handball. Have you
Correct.
seen him? How he moves with his hands? It's amazing,
Yes.
right? The Axel Villan, right, from France. His dad, such a great decoy in the past, and he's a great decoy as well. Madalin Draga, my friend from Romania, background in martial arts, the physicality of it, it's there,
Yes.
right? At the Super Selection now, look how many people have either background in dog sports or background in some form of uh, of structure sport, right? Luca Pecora, his brother, his dad. I don't need to say anymore, right?
Morgan Blanchard, same story. Father,
Exactly, Morgan.
brother,
Exactly, right?
and background in karate,
Background in
Kyokushin karate. Yep.
So it's this. Sorry, these two specific things have stood out for me. That and those are the decoys that which reach top level every single time.
Yeah.
It's something that if with the sport comes the discipline and understanding rules, understanding how to respect the rules and how to highlight certain things and how to shine in those rules. And obviously, having a legacy in dog sports is it's like second nature. You grow up as a kid just watching and experiencing those things, and it comes very natural for you to do so. At least that's how I see things.
Okay. So now let's talk about one of your biggest achievements so far. which is winning the FCI Decoy Super Selection. It's no
Yeah.
small feat. Everybody knows that who is in this sport, and it puts you among the best in the world. Take
Hmm.
us inside the super selection process. What's it like physically, mentally, and emotionally?
Oh man, it's a dream come true. First of all, it's every decoy's dream, I would say. Makes it a bit special for me because, like I said to you earlier, next World Championship is back home in Romania. But the the super selection starts with the theory test, which is sometimes it can be done in various ways. The experience I had now was a set of four questions which I picked myself from from a hat. There were numbers, and you would pick numbers, and whatever number you get, you would be allowed to read the question from a list of 30 something, 31 or 32 questions. So that's the first part, and uh, I was successful in that. I understand the rules very well, and I've studied the rules, and I think I said to you how I've trained a bit for this as well, because I think everything can be somehow trained. Where I took the Mondioring rules and uploaded them in ChatGPT and asked for ChatGPT to generate questions and change the wordings and make it more difficult, just to get that challenge and try to get some form of different view into how to answer the questions. So the theory part was first, which was 100% successful, and then comes the physical part. Physical part at the super selection is divided in two exercises, which is the 1 kilometer run and the 160-meter slalom run when you are dressed in the suit. First, it's always the kilometer, and we were 19 people, so we were divided in four groups, three groups of five and one group of four. And I was in the last group, which I think it was a bit lucky for me because I could see exactly which were the as much as you could. You know you don't know exactly every single person's time because you're there warming up and you don't actually stay and look at every person's time. But I knew the time that I had to beat, which was 3 minutes and 16 seconds. I wasn't successful in that. I only got 3 minutes and 20 seconds, so 4 seconds less. But I was happy. It was not a big difference. I had the second time in the from the all 19 decoys, and then comes the slalom, which is I think that goes a bit natural for me. I'm fast as a decoy. I run pretty fast in general, and I got the best time there. So you may lose on one aspect, but then you can gain a bit in the other one. So that's how it felt then. And the first day was successful in my view, physical and the theory, having being tied with one of the other great athletes in the sport, with Morgan. Um, he beat me with 4 seconds in the kilometer, and then I beat him with 4 seconds in the slalom. It was a perfect tie, so that was very good psychologically. That's a very good spot to be in. It felt that way for the next day, and then the next day, the first day of working is where every single decoy chooses an order, the order in which they will start to work the dogs. First thing that you do is to get a number again and see exactly uh, which number puts you into the field. And on the first day, I was number 19, so I was the last one to go in that day, which can be it has its pros and cons. The 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 pros are that you can somehow look at what the others have done and see exactly what's pleasant for the eye, pleasant for your eye as a decoy, pleasant for the audience's eye, pleasant for the judge's eye, um, and you can analyze a bit how, and you can feel how the situation has gone. The cons are you have to wait that long, and it could be that somewhere it could be a representation from one of the decoys that's so outstanding that you can't override it. You can be as good as you want, but you can't go over something that one of the other decoys or two or three have done before in a specific exercise or in a specific moment, because it's every exercise is the same for every decoy. Um, and after the first day, I was classed second place, which is not a bad place to be in. After the first couple of days, the physical, the theory, and then the first day working with the dog to be on the second place, it was a good position to be in. And then on the last day, the top performers will work. The way we enter the field is by going from the last one to the first one. In this situation, was from number 12 to number 1. So I was second to last to go on the field. And I've done a bit my homework from Saturday. I gave you the example with the object guard a bit earlier, and I knew I had to do something a bit more different on Sunday, a bit more different in terms of um, be more successful with the exercises. At times, maybe spectacular, because that's having the ability to show a bit of skill. It's important as well. So I was able to realize where I need to do things differently. And those, to be fair, throughout the whole weekend, those 12 hours from when we got the results on Saturday evening at 8:30 until the next day at 8 o'clock when we started, those 12 hours, although 5 of them I slept, but those 12 hours that's what I felt the most pressure, because I really needed to think of what and how I need to change in order to be better than the previous day. I knew from the beginning the small things that I could improve like that, but then I needed to do something a bit more to be able to stand out on Sunday. And luckily, it turned out to be okay. So I'll give you an example. If I give you all the videos from 2 accessories and 1 stick on Saturday, and then 2 accessories and 1 stick on Sunday, that's 6 attacks, you would see that in none of the exercises, I don't start exactly the same way. There's 6 biting exercises, 6 different ways of starting the exercise. Mentally, that can be overwhelming because you're fatigued, you're tired, you could have made a mistake a bit earlier, you could have been unsuccessful with one of the things earlier, and that can put you off. But I think if you have a plan somehow and you follow it, regardless of what happens, that can actually lead you to a bit of success.
Yes, I remember after the first day, because the audience doesn't know, but we were spending the time off from the World Championship in the same Airbnb, and I
Yeah.
saw you analyzing all of your videos of your work of the first day and trying to see what you could do better. You were really studying your own work. You were not
Mm-hmm.
worried or thinking about other people. You were watching your own videos and showing where you could have done better, where you could have done a little bit more, where you could have done a bit less, etc.
Mm-hmm.
And for you, that paid off the next day because you definitely were busy with improving, which you did. Obviously, in the second day, you were the most deserving winner for most of the people. I after the super selection did a little poll with the people that were watching, that came to watch the Super Selection, and they said that you were hands down the winner second day. And here we are now celebrating this together during this podcast. Like, I would like to know, what did you feel when your name was announced as the winner?
Um, First of all, I felt safe because my wife said if I don't win, I shouldn't come back home. No, I'm joking. I felt pride. I felt very proud. I felt very proud because people may not know how much work it was for me behind it. It may sound, people will listen to this and it may sound like I'm on the field or in the gym from 8 in the morning till 8 at night. That is absolutely not the case. I've got a life, I've got work to do, I've got a family, I've got a kid, I've got other normal responsibilities that take resources away from dedicating them to Mondioring. So I have to do the best with what I've got. So for everyone to kind of understand, a normal day for me preparing for Super Selection since May started at 5 o'clock in the morning. Waking up, getting ready to go to the gym, after gym, go to work, come back home, sometimes train after work as well when it was summer and the days were longer and there was a bit more light outside. Um, Going to training at the club. That's that's a lot of my nights are very I don't sleep that much, or when I do, it's because I'm completely shattered. But for me, it was a lot of work behind it, and one of the reasons why I felt proud is because um, there's not a lot of dogs I could train with here in England, high level dogs. We've got a few good category 3 dogs. We've got JB, who's got Chance, who has been a vice world champion. I've got my dogs, which I'm preparing, and preparing a dog and preparing yourself as a decoy is two different things. You don't want to mix them together because you may do something in training that's gonna
Yeah.
make you undo a lot of work that you've done. Uh, so the regime of training I had was slightly different than other people's as well. Not saying this in a bragging or an excusing way. It's just that the logistics are different where I am compared to other people, which is absolutely fair enough. You work with what you get and what you have, and you try to make the best out of it. I knew because I don't have that many dogs to work with, I knew I had to compensate and work strategically in different areas, which was the physicality, the reflexes, the gym, the power. The moves will stay the same. You don't do any extraordinary backflips at the super selection. The moves, the possible scooping and the skeeves, and when the time is right, and the way you block the dog comes from understanding the rules and preparing for them. So I know I can do that even if I don't train for the next 6 months. I do nothing. If you ask me to block a dog for category 3, I'm sure I'll be able to do it because it's up here. First one maybe look rusty, but the second one will be better. So I would say, yeah, proud is the word that and the feeling that described when I found out. And obviously happiness. I was very happy.
Now, with the Super Selection win under your belt, you're heading into an even bigger role, which is decoying the World Championship, actually. That's the deep end of the pool. This
Yeah.
is where the best dogs in the world show up, basically. Now, do you feel a different kind of responsibility when you're in that category 3 ring, knowing your work can make or break a round for elite handlers?
Responsibility. Yes, my responsibility is to take my work and display it to every single dog in the same way, and with the hope that the best dog is going to prove that the reasons why it deserves to be a winner. My mentality is that we're friends, but if Fritz competes and he makes a mistake and I speculated, I'm really sorry. And I think it's fair enough.
Yes, that's how it is.
It is how it is. Yeah, I've done it before. I'm not. We're friends. We can have beers, whatever. But when it's on the field, it's the judge. I'm helping and complementing the judge's ideas for the world championship. And my role there is to show that your training either is perfect or it needs improvement, and that's pretty much it. My responsibility is to show why that dog has become the winner, and then why that dog has ended up on the last place. That's how I see it.
That's a perfect segue into my next question. I have
Yeah.
not sent you any questions, and funnily
No,
enough, this is perfect. What kind of feedback do you value most after a performance? From judges, from handlers, or from other decoys?
from to be fair, from all of them. The for all of from all of them, but I put them in order. The first person I ask for feedback is the judge, because that's the first person that puts me in a position to do certain things. And every judge is the rules are the same, but every judge has slightly different um, requests in certain exercises, and I need to be able to fulfill those expectations that they have, right?
Yes.
And that for me it's extremely important. That's why I don't know if you've never seen me in a competition, but you've after every exercise in the white dog, I go and ask, is that okay? Anything different? Anything you want me to change? Every single exercise that I do, I go and ask. Because if there's anything to change, is then. Can't change it afterwards, right?
True.
Things look different during the work because dogs come in different places, right? The accessory attack for a dog that comes on the leg compared for a dog that comes on the bicep or higher to come to bite on the upper body, it's looking visually different. But the way I present the accessory has to be the same as much as possible for both of those dogs, and that's the thing that I look at. And second of all, it's is the handler as well. I had so many handlers that thought they had really good dogs that did very well, came to me after and said, never had this problem of him not outing during the escort and giving extra bites up until with you. I said, yeah, well, there's certain things about how you put pressure on the dog and how the dog sometimes feel a certain moment of satisfaction that can trigger something in it, and that's something I can't necessarily describe. I can feel it then with the dog, but it's a moment that you have to like speculate. It lasts for a couple of seconds. I can't do it right now out of memory. It's just I have to be there with the dog to be able to kind of explain it and so it can be understood. But the feedback from the handlers overall is that if I present myself as a good challenge, that's a objective which is achieved for me. And
I
obviously with
understand.
and obviously with decoys we discuss all the time, and I try to look at other decoys and try to see what they do, but I would never try to do what another decoy does. Purely because it's impossible. Physically it's impossible for me to do what you do. You've got such a long hand, and for me to block with that power, it's impossible. You're bigger, you're stronger than me. I can't do that. What I can do is probably get a bit lower faster and synchronize a bit faster because I am a bit faster in movements because that's how we're built. So I'd rather go with that and I've taken things from decoys, certain ways of them looking at things, um, which but I could probably never reproduce them because it's not in my
Yep.
physical attributes.
Yes, I agree. I have the same idea. I have the taken over, let's say, a way of perceiving the arrival of the dog, but not um, actual technique itself. But I would say you can never and you should never copy another decoy. But if you see a high level decoy doing work or approaching a certain exercise in a certain way, and this can make your own game better, go ahead, go for it. This is what I've been doing. I've not been copying, but I've learned a lot by watching great, great decoys, much better decoys than myself. And this has improved my own game. And to return to what you said before, about people thinking they have a great dog, clean outs in the transport, and very clean behavior in a certain exercise. I've felt this way in the defense at a competition that I've done. I did
Mm-hmm.
the hit, and you have the couple of seconds of work that you do. I was going into the confrontation very nose to nose with the dog, and then very often dogs would need a second recall in the defense to go back to the handler, because this is what you mean is like the way you put pressure at the right time, or you feel like the dog is enjoying the fight and you're bringing him the fight. This is where you actually are exposing little
Mm-hmm.
issues in the work of in the training of the dog, right?
Yeah, yeah. That's our role there, right? It's
Yeah.
not necessarily just the dog coming from 50 meters to bite you and having good technique to pivot on your standing leg. It's handling the pressure, going back at the whistle or at the recall with the voice. It's the components are there are many components to facilitate the entirety of the exercise. It's not just the dog knows how to pivot and it's super fast and it's
Yeah.
breaking the barrage. It's not just that. There's a lot of other things, and my role there is to show opposition, the same opposition for every dog. And if the dog is 100% super prepared, he will get the maximum points. If not, it's more work to do for that dog and that handler.
Now, I want to go off script for myself. Then I have
Yeah.
a little question, curiosity for myself. Have
Yeah.
you thought about the design of your suit for the upcoming World Championships? Are we going to see some a fusion of Romanian and British colors in that suit?
Um, I do have the model. I've drawn it myself.
Okay.
And there is going to be not necessarily a fusion, but I I love and respect both Romania and England, and I think it's something that I'm going to highlight on the suit. Not in a I'm not a very flashy guy and stuff like that, but I'm gonna pay my respects for both parties.
Yeah, let the flashiness come from your moves and not from the colors
Yeah,
of your suit.
flashiness comes from the move and not from the suit is going to be it's going to be simple, but it's gonna look good. I've drawn it myself. If you want,
Good.
I can show it to you, but after this.
Sure, sure. Now, before we wrap up, I want to
Yeah,
shift gears a little bit because
yeah.
I know a lot of our listeners are either aspiring handlers, actual trainers, or even future decoys. So, for someone just starting out as a decoy, what's the one thing they need to understand that isn't obvious from the outside?
I'm gonna go exactly with what I said earlier. Rules, man.
Yeah.
Rules. That's for me. That's extremely, extremely important. It's extremely, extremely logical. How can you train for something if you don't understand how that is, right? And or what it is, or what you need to achieve, or how you need to achieve it. So um, let's take again. I'm referring a lot to the uh, to the stick attack. Even in category one, even if the dog bites first go, you could still lose points if the dog slows down and breaks down, right? And that can be a difference from how you trained. If you always train and the dog comes in at category 1 at a level 1 dog, you try to cover yourself with the stick, and at the last second you slightly move the stick on the side or you take it away and the dog bites and is successful, then in competition a decoy is just going to block the stick there and says go through, and the dog goes, hang on a minute, I haven't seen this before. Or if you read the rules, going back to the rules, when they describe the stick attack, it says that you're allowed to take 2 steps forward. It doesn't say which category. It says you're allowed to take 2 steps forward. So if I would decoy World Championship Category 1, Grand Prix Category 1, and I would do stick attack, to make it at the highest level of difficulty, I would use what the rules allow me to use, and I would take those 2 steps forward. And it has happened when I've done a competition, a national competition, doing this, and a lot of dogs slow down because they didn't see that picture before and they didn't confront themselves with that opposition. But if I wouldn't understand that category 1 allows me to do that, I wouldn't put it in practice, either training or being in competition. So either you're a handler or a aspiring decoy, or you're just interested in the sport. If you read the rules and understand them, and you've got that will put you in a position where you got a good starting point. And what I would say is the best way to do it for me is look at the handlers which have won world championships, take the rules, and then go on YouTube and see what they've done, read the rules, and then look at them, and you'll see why they have been successful. Same with decoys. And there's a lot of videos on YouTube, high quality videos, that can highlight very, very good work from the handler, from the dog, and from the decoys.
Are there?
Reading it and visualizing it, it's one of the best ways to actually get it.
Yes, I agree. Videos are your friend. If you want
Yeah.
to improve, just watch great performances. There's world championship performances. There's national championships that are freely available on YouTube, on Facebook. People post their performances on Facebook and learn from the best. That's
Yeah.
always that actually brings me to the next question. Are there any mistakes or bad habits that you see newer decoys pick up early on?
Newer decoys.
Yeah, like in beginner decoys, do you see them making like gaining bad habits or making mistakes when they start out? What are like the common mistakes that you see decoys do?
Um, First one I would say is trying to be someone else, and I've seen it now at a super selection on a couple of occasions. I've seen a certain move displayed by a certain decoy, and then I've seen another one doing 95% exactly the same thing. And I'm not talking about how you block the dog, but the way you work and put pressure on the dog. I think for me that's a bit of a you're putting yourself in an unnatural environment if you try to do something that's not natural to you, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Um, that's one thing. Um, and the other thing I think would be um, trying to showing off is not something I'm a fan of unless you know you can do it. And you can understand whatever from this, but um, showing off puts you in a position where once you decide to go that route, you can't actually take steps back. and you have to be consistent with that. So what I mean by that is if you have been extremely successful in an accessory attack, for example, by showing off a bit and being borderline, that same skill needs to be in object guard, search and escort, stick attack. It can't just be one, just because you speculate at the moment and you've stretched the things to the limit a bit. That's that's something I think people should be a bit careful with. And purely because this is more for me to validate what I said earlier. You need to respect the sport, the rules, the handlers, the dogs, and to be fair play. That for me it's important.
That's going to give me a nice soundbite to post as a story, what you just said.
Oh, is it?
Yes. Now, Florin, this has been incredible. Not
Thank
just
you very much for
hearing
having me.
about your success, but understanding the mindset and the discipline behind your performance and behind your who you are. Where
Mhm.
can listeners follow your journey? Are you on Instagram, YouTube, any other platforms?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram. The name on Instagram is Nake.Mondioring, and it's the same on Facebook.
Okay.
Those are the two easiest ways to reach out.
Do you have any upcoming seminars or events, appearances that people should know about?
Uh, a couple of like short ones. I'm actually flying to the States tomorrow. Today being the 15th for record. So normally I've got one booked for Germany next year in April. I got invited to do the Polish national championship next year. Um, and there's a few others next year as well in Europe and in the US. I just need to establish the dates. Normally, how it goes, people reach out and we communicate. All I need to know is just a bit in advance about how and where I'm going to allocate some time for it. It's difficult a bit when with job and family and being away for that much longer, for longer periods of time. Sorry. So that's why I kind of need to know a bit more in advance. That's why, for example, now it's October and I've planned something for April next year. So it's 6 months in advance, but at least I know that time of the year when and how I'm going to go.
Well, thanks again for joining us here on the Dogsport Planet podcast. Now, to our listeners, if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to put a like on it, maybe give a review if you liked it. If you didn't like it, we also would like to hear your feedback. Share it with your training group or club. Until next time, keep training, keep learning, and we'll see you in the ring. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye bye.